Today we're going to talk about the value of your party rental business. Now, when you're looking at the value of your business, it's easy to, just kind of initially just take the amount of money that your business is bringing in, or the amount of money it's generating from customers, and assume that over so many years that's what it's worth, and that's not really how an evaluation works for business. And in our business, it's a little bit different because the clientele that we, kind of cultivate and gather really aren't something that can be passed from year to year, or even from company to company, because your customer base is something that's moving and shifting and changing, and getting into the viability and the reliability of a customer list. It kind of creates a situation where you're looking at this client list as an asset, when in reality it's not. It's something that can change and does change very, very often. Our customer range is generally children between the ages of 2 and 12. That's the meat of the rental business. Now, obviously, it moves on, and the spectrum has kind of shifted a little bit since people who have grown up with inflatables and backyard equipment have now had children, and they're passing those memories and those things on to their children. So what happens is they'll rent them for their children, and they'll even get into older ages and will rent them. I've gone up to college age kids with certain events and beyond. So it's kind of the same phenomena that we've had with video games. My generation probably was the first generation to actually experience video games, but we kind of let those kind of things fall to the wayside as we grew up. It's not to say that we didn't play video games as adults or anything like that, but the next generation and the next two generations have really latched on to the genre as a media, or an entertainment kind of outlet, so that they're playing video games as much as they're watching movies or something like that, whereas my generation didn't. The same is true with the inflatable business. They grew up with it. The newer generations have been exposed to it and don't mind kind of stretching it out into later years. But there is no McDonald's of the bounce business. There is no one out there that is the king of the crop and the number one household name. There's no Pepsi. There's no Coca-Cola of the bounce business. There's no one who's brand synonymous out there. So what that does is it creates a situation where the customer will go wherever they can find the products that they want, and in most cases, it's usually when they're exposed to it that they kind of gravitate towards that. When you're trying to evaluate what the value is your client list, it doesn't hold a whole lot of value, simply because it can be easily replaced, not to mention they're going to grow out of it. Your customers are only your customers when they need you, and usually, best case scenario, that's a few times a year. In most cases, what you're going to have is we're an event that occurs for a special occasion, and it is not a repeatable special occasion, or it's not repeatable on a frequent basis. So what you're going to have is someone will rent from you for 1 year or twice a year, and then they may skip a year, and then they could come back in the next year and do it a couple times. Or you can have customers that for 5 or 6 years consecutively are going to rent from you, and then they will disappear because the children will move on to something else, or something else will go get their attention, or the family decides to do something else. With that being in mind, you don't have the ability to assume that your clientele are going to be repeat or be reliable in a way that you can, count on a certain amount of income. Now, that's not to say that you don't have a certain level of income, and that you're either maintaining or growing or shrinking that level of income depending on the amount of marketing that you're doing. But it's not a situation where individuals are counted on. It's more so you're counting on the total of the exposure that you're getting and the rentals that you're coming from. So when you're evaluating your company, you have to take away the client list and just assume that you have a name out there that people may or may not recognize locally, but it doesn't translate. So that leaves you with the equipment. And we've already kind of discussed the lifespan of equipment and what the value of equipment is. If and again, we can go into a couple different ways of looking at it, but in a generalized term, if you go 3 to 5 years for water slides with 100 to 150 rentals as the lifespan, and you're looking to sell your equipment that's 2 years old with X amount of rentals on it, you're halfway through. So the revenue that you're going to get off of that is going to be halved. So the value of that should also be marked somewhere in a range to where it's going to be affected by the wear and tear and the age of the unit. When you can pick up a brand new unit for $4,000, and you have a used unit that you're trying to sell for $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000, it's getting really close to a situation where your equipment is not going to have the lifespan or the hold-up value that it should. Now, again, some of the other pieces can go longer. They can go 10, 12, 15 years. I've seen equipment that is well taken care of, that's well maintained, and luck has a lot to do with it, whether or not somebody plays with it the correct way, or tons of things can go into it. But that still doesn't change the fact that your inventory needs to be rotated, because obviously there are things out there that are catching people's attention, and certain styles and colors and the whole 9 yards. So honestly, to tell you the truth, 5 years is probably a good medium for you to start at least picking up some of the newer stuff and rotating your stuff out. That being said, again, the value of the equipment is going to be affected by where you're at in that lifespan of the unit. So again, the valuation of the equipment given the lifespan, without a client list, and what else are you left with? What is your business worth? What cannot be recreated and quickly gain the eye of a customer? What are you doing that makes your business special? Again, it's something that needs to be looked at. I see a lot of people selling their equipment this year, and I know that a lot of people got into the business thinking that it's an easy business to get into, and with COVID, it's something that you can do, and you don't have to worry about exposure and all the things. And a lot of those people are immediately getting back out of it because they realize that there's a lot of heavy lifting, there's a lot of bookkeeping, there's a lot of time consumed, the whole thing, where every holiday you have to give up, every weekend in the spring, summer, and fall you're giving up. There's just a lot of things that go into this business that people may or may not realize, and it doesn't change the fact that a lot of people will look at you and say, because of the products that we use and things, they have this assumption that because we deal with toys, children's items, that we're not to be taken serious, that the business is something that is less than a business. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I've been around the big guys and seen there's tons of money to be made in the business for those who are serious about the business, but you're fighting those fights every time. You're fighting the fact that people don't take it serious, that people don't look at you as a true businessman or something like that. And that kind of carries over into other things as well, as far as financing, as far as, trying to do things for your business that will, should come naturally to most businesses out there. Again, you're looking at an uphill battle. So when you're evaluating the worth of your business, you got to keep all those things in mind, and mainly is that there's nothing in the business that cannot be replaced or traded out with another. There's nothing that is unique to you. We all get our inflatables from the same manufacturers, and in all honesty, a lot of the manufacturers cross over once you get to the warehousing and the actual factories overseas. So there's not a lot that is left for you to be unique, and that alone creates a situation where you can't stand out. You don't have that special recipe, so all you have is your customer service and the ability to provide, different things to your customers. And I hope that helps you guys kind of figure out, what's the value of your company, and how you guys can, build upon that. My personal suggestion is that you work on your brand within your neighborhoods and your customers, and you kind of create that hometown feel. Nothing wrong with being a mom and pop. Make the money. All right. If you like it, subscribe. We'll see you guys again.